My name is Richard, and for most of my life, I believed the family was everything. I worked long hours, saved every penny, and put my heart into making sure my only daughter, Emily, had the best life possible. When her wedding day came, I stood proudly by her side. I thought I had gained a son that day, not realizing I was slowly losing my daughter. 2 months ago, I decided to surprise Emily and her husband with a holiday to New York City. It was her dream destination. She had always wanted to see the lights of Times Square, walk through Central Park, and visit Broadway. I spent weeks arranging everything: flights, hotels, even a guided tour. It cost me a fortune, but I didn't care. For me, seeing her happy was priceless. The night before our trip, my phone buzzed with a voice message. I remember the chill that ran down my spine as I listened. Emily's voice was cold, distant, almost like she wasn't the little girl I once knew. "Dad," she said, "you are not coming with us to New York. My husband doesn't want to see you. Please don't argue, just stay behind." I froze. The words echoed in my head again and again. "Not coming with us. My husband doesn't want to see you." I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the half-packed suitcase beside me. I had been so excited, so ready to share this trip with her. Instead, I felt like I had been slapped across the face by my own child. But then another thought crept in, the cruelest part of all. I had paid for everything. Every single booking, every detail of the trip was on my credit card. For hours, I couldn't sleep. I replayed her voice over and over, my chest tightening with each word. Why? What had I done wrong? Was I really that unwanted? By morning, my hurt had turned into something else, a quiet, sharp decision. If they didn't want me, then they didn't deserve the trip I had built for them. So with trembling hands but a strangely calm heart, I picked up the phone and canceled every booking. The flights, the hotel, the tours, everything. When the airline asked me why, I simply said plans changed. And then I waited. Later that evening, my phone began to buzz. First one call, then 5, then 10. By midnight, I had 25 missed calls. By morning, the number had climbed to 69. My daughter and her husband had arrived in New York only to discover they had no hotel, no flight reservations, and nowhere to stay. And I sat there, staring at my silent phone, wondering if I had gone too far or if this was the only way to make them understand what they had done to me. The morning after I canceled everything, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee, staring at my phone. The screen flashed over and over again, 69 missed calls. Most of them were from Emily, some from numbers I didn't recognize, probably her husband, or maybe the hotel desk where they had shown up expecting a room. Finally, a message came through. It wasn't gentle. "Dad, how could you do this to us? We're stranded. Do you know how humiliating this is? My husband is furious, and it's all your fault." Her words stung, but I couldn't help shaking my head. My fault, I thought. I had only taken back what was mine. A few minutes later, another message followed. "You're selfish. You ruined everything. I don't even know if I can forgive you for this." I placed the phone face down on the table and took a deep breath. For years, I had let Emily and her husband treat me like a wallet, inviting me only when they needed something, ignoring me when they didn't. I always told myself it was just the way life goes, that children grow up and drift away. But this was different. This was rejection, pure and deliberate. By afternoon, my sister called. She had heard the story from Emily. "Richard," she said, "they're saying you abandoned them, that you sabotaged their honeymoon."
Honeymoon? I repeated, my voice trembling. This wasn't their honeymoon. This was a family trip I planned and paid for. And they told me I wasn't welcome. What would you have done? There was silence on the other end. Then she sighed. You're hurt. I understand. But Emily, she's your daughter. Do you really want this wall between you? Her words haunted me all evening. I walked around the house, restless, thinking about the years when Emily was little. Her first day at school, her laughter at the park, the way she used to run into my arms when I came home from work. Where had that little girl gone? Now she was a grown woman who sided with her husband over her own father, who thought nothing of cutting me out of her life with a single cold voicemail. As the sun set, I found myself pacing the living room. My phone vibrated again. This time, it was a video call. Against my better judgment, I answered. Emily's face appeared on the screen, her eyes red and swollen. Her husband sat behind her, scowling. "Dad," she said, her voice breaking, "we had to spend the night in the airport. Do you understand what you did to us?" I swallowed hard. "Do you understand what you did to me? You told me I wasn't wanted. You cut me out after I gave you everything, after I planned this whole trip. Emily, you broke my heart." Her husband leaned forward, his voice sharp. "You're just being dramatic. She didn't mean it that way. You should have stayed out of our business instead of trying to control everything." "Control?" I whispered. "All I ever wanted was to be part of my daughter's life. If that's controlling, then maybe I really don't belong anymore." The call ended abruptly. I sat there, staring at the black screen, my heart heavier than ever. For the first time in years, I wondered if, maybe, just maybe, it was time to let go.
The days that followed were some of the quietest of my life. My phone, once buzzing nonstop, now sat in silence on the kitchen counter. Emily had stopped calling. Her husband, I assumed, had convinced her to cut me off completely. At first, I thought I'd feel relief, peace after the storm. But instead, the silence felt heavier than the anger had. I kept walking past old photo frames in my house, stopping at one picture of Emily on her 6th birthday, frosting on her cheeks, her little hands clutching a pink balloon. Back then, she used to call me her hero. Now, I was the villain in her story. One evening, I went for a walk through the park. Families were everywhere. Kids running, parents laughing, couples sitting on benches. I felt invisible, like I was drifting in a world that had no place for me anymore. As I sat on a bench, my phone buzzed again. For a moment, my heart jumped. Emily? But no, it was an email. I opened it and froze. It was from the hotel in New York. A staff member had written, "Dear Mr. Richard, we noticed the guests under your canceled booking arrived expecting rooms. We regret they had to leave without accommodation. We wanted to confirm, was this cancellation intentional?" I read those words again and again. Was this intentional? It was like the world was asking me if I truly meant to hurt my daughter. The truth was, I hadn't wanted to hurt her. I just wanted her to understand my pain. That night, I couldn't sleep. I replayed the video call in my head. Emily's red eyes, the tears running down her face. She wasn't just angry, she was broken. And no matter how much I felt she had betrayed me, she was still my daughter. The next morning, I drafted a letter. Not an email, not a text, an actual handwritten letter. I needed her to hear my heart without interruptions. In the letter, I wrote, "Emily, you hurt me more than I can put into words. When you said your husband didn't want to see me, It felt like you were choosing him over the father who raised you. Canceling the trip wasn't revenge. It was the only way I could make you feel a fraction of what I felt. But now I realize I may have only pushed you further away. I don't want war with you. I just want my daughter back. Always, Dad. I mailed it the same day. A week passed before I heard anything. Then, late one night, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Emily. Just 5 words. Dad, can we talk? Please? My hands shook as I read it. For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the end of our story.
The next morning, after Emily's message, I sat by the window with the phone in my hand. My heart pounded as I typed a reply. Yes, Emily, let's talk. Anytime you're ready. A day later, she called. This time, her voice wasn't cold. It was trembling, softer, like the little girl I once knew was peeking through. Dad, I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to push you away. I thought if I kept peace with my husband, everything would be easier. But I ended up hurting the one person who has always been there for me. You. I closed my eyes, the pain softening. Emily, I said, you don't have to choose between me and your husband, but you can't erase me from your life either. I'm your father. All I've ever wanted is to be part of your happiness. There was silence on the other end, followed by quiet sobbing. You're right, Dad. I was wrong. And I shouldn't have let him make decisions about who's welcome in my life. That was my mistake, not yours. Later that week, she came to my house. I hadn't seen her in months, but the moment she stepped in, her eyes filled with tears. She hugged me tightly, longer than she had in years. I missed you, she said. I missed you too, I replied, my voice breaking. Her husband stayed in the car outside. He didn't come in. Maybe he was still angry, or maybe he was embarrassed. Either way, in that moment, I realized something important. My relationship with my daughter didn't depend on anyone else's approval. We sat at the kitchen table, the same place where I had once stared at those 69 missed calls. Only this time, there was no silence, no bitterness, just a father and daughter slowly stitching back the pieces of a broken bond. Before she left, Emily said, Dad, I don't care how he feels about it anymore. You're my father, and I want you in my life. Always. And for the first time in a long time, I believed her.